You mentioned Zetro for Exodus, but also Metallica. What, looking back at that time, the late 80s and in the Bay Area, what made that area so fruitful for the kind of music that you were making? Do you know?
Well, the Bay Area at that time was more known for glam metal because that's what it, hairspray and spandex and
right.
And hair and long hair and stuff. It was kind of known for that glam and punk rock. There was a lot of punk rock going on in the Bay Area. So I think once Metallica kind of arrived and Exodus's first demos were hitting the streets, it started this new thing. It was new because it was kind of punk rockish. It had that attitude of punk rock, and it wasn't glam, so it was totally something new. And honestly, I think around that time, when all us bands started coming into the scene of the Bay Area, a lot of those glam bands that started there all went to LA. Okay. It's like we chased them out of town. So there was this whole new kind of movement and sound that was happening at that time. And there was a lot of clubs to play. So there was always somewhere to play and see a lot of bands at that point.
Was there a rivalry then in that sense with those glam metal bands? Did you like each other?
Well, some of us were friends, but some, like, Paul Bailoff in Exodus, he was out on a mission to kill posers and it was definitely an attitude because it was almost because punk rock had attitude. And metal, to me, thrash metal kind of had that same little mentality and attitude. So if you weren't with us and didn't fit in, you get out of here, Okay. So yeah, there kind of was the little rivalry, but I think honestly, because it grew quick in the Bay, and a lot of, I think the glam fans lost fans, and because fans of glam music would always go to LA because that's where it was all at,
Sure.
So all those bands left town and went to LA.
Okay. And then I think the next 5 years were very, very productive for the band. I think every year tour and then
every year a record and tour, just right after another, bam, bam, bam.
What was that like? Was it overwhelming? Because, like you say, it was your first band, and you kind of.
Well, we didn't know the record business. We didn't know. You do a record and you go on tour for 2 or 3 years. We didn't know. We thought you do a record and just keep writing music and just. We didn't know. Nobody had told us how to do it or what to do. So. And we were all young, living at our parents' house.
Sure.
The best thing was to go to the studio and drink beer and get high and jam. That was fun to us. So we did that like every day. 5-6 nights a week, we'd go to the studio and play. So we had a lot of times to get creative and write songs and jam.
Sure.
So we're creating a lot of music pretty quick over those 4-year period.
And looking back at the period, because I think then after Ritual, it became a little bit more shaky. The lineup started to change, and then.
Well, at the Ritual, that's when we knew that was the last record Alex was going to do.
Okay.
I think at that point, going into that, the band did start growing apart. I think at that point, I know when we wrote the Ritual record, it was a heavier record at first when Eric wrote it. And I think that's where the tension started. Maybe Alex didn't want it to be that heavy. He wanted to kind of go a different direction, be maybe a little more polished and a little more commercial. We were on Atlantic Records, is a big label that had A&R guys telling you, where's the single? Where's the radio song? Where's the radio hit? Because that's what they did then. And I don't think that really was us.
Okay.
So Alex leaving, us not really being 100% in doing what we're doing, we kind of started growing apart on the Ritual. I like that record, and there's some good songs, but I hear how it was moving away from what we originally started. It wasn't as thrashy at all. It was more polished songs.
Is this something that you notice now, or did you know at the time as well?
No, at the time, we didn't know any better, but we knew that something was wrong. I mean, you're always proud of whatever you create and you put 100% into it.
Of course.
But the mentality was maybe getting not so aggressive, and I mean, because we didn't know. I mean, everything happened so fast. Just bam, bam, bam. And, you know, and Alex was young. He was 15, 16, started the band. And so he grew up his teenage years, which are pretty important years,
Sure.
touring, playing heavy metal. And he really wanted to experiment other types of music, you know, which was fine. You know, we were like, we understand, you know, we get it. But unfortunately, the climate of music was changing too, you know, Pearl Jams, Nirvanas, and
Sure.
Soundgardens, all those kind of bands started coming into the scene. And at that time, American radio or MTV, there was things that metal had exposure. You can drive in drive time traffic on regular AM or FM radio and still hear heavy metal songs. As soon as that other thing, Seattle movement started happening, it changed literally within a year, overnight. You know, the labels started dropping their metal acts, and no more MTV, no more radio playing metal. It really did change. But we were at the end of our contract. You know, the band split up and we had one more record to do. So I know me and Eric, mentally, when Alex chose to leave and he left, we kind of were like, man, what's happening? We're really bummed. But on the other hand, we also said, well, shoot, now we're going to be heavier. You know,
Right.
man, the Ritual should have been a heavier record. You know, let's not let that happen. So the Low record was, we experimented with tuning the guitars down to fit more naturally with my voice.
Right.
And that's when we kind of found this feels more comfortable, it feels heavier. And then I wrote a song, Dogface Gods, that was the first song I really sang death vocals through like a whole song.
Right.
And I really got criticized by our fans.
Okay.
That, oh, don't do that, you're gonna ruin your voice, what are you doing? We don't want you to do that. But then I got some new fans who were like, yeah, I like that direction you're going, keep it up. You know, so it was hard, you can't please everybody, and
Sure.
it was hard to please everybody, but
was that a difficult time? Because like you say, on the one hand, the musical landscape is changing, and then also...
it was difficult because it was the last record on the contract. We didn't know, are we gonna get another contract? Is the music business changing so much they don't want metal and we won't get a contract? Because we're on Atlantic Records, which is a major label.
Right.
It was a big machine doing a lot of marketing and a lot of, you know, doing what they do. So yeah, we were a little nervous and scared at the time what was going to happen.
And well, what's interesting is then two albums do follow Low, but after that it kind of dies down again. Was it because of the health issues, or were there?
No, it definitely was because of that.
Okay.
I mean, after the Atlantic contract was up, we didn't know what we were going to do. So at that point we decided, we got some new band members, James Murphy and John Deddy was in the group. We decided that let's do a live record, live at Fillmore. And with Johnny Z, who owned Megaforce Records, we had spoken, we talked about what if we start, he convinced us, you guys should start your own record label and put out your own music. Sure, sounds like a good idea. So that's what we did. We created Burnt Offerings and released that record on our own. And it did very well. We sold a lot of records. We actually made some really good money on it. And that kind of opened our eyes like, okay, maybe there's something here. Maybe we're going to do it ourselves. We don't need these other labels. We're going to do it ourselves. And then we moved from that record into the Demonic record. And at that point, the industry was so different. So metal was, we've seen everybody getting dropped off the major labels. So we're like, let's just write heavy and hard. And that's when Gene Hoglan came into the band. And the songs were just much more intense and heavier. Where I actually tried to sing on them, but it just didn't feel right. The voice wasn't right until I sang the death stuff. And Eric's like, yeah, dude, use that one. So that one came, that was a heavy, hard record.
Sure.
But I don't think the people or the fans or fans of ours were really ready for that yet.
Okay. And if we make parallels to now, how do you see the musical landscape now then in terms of metal and how it's received not only by the fans but by the industry?
Well, it's night and day, because now when you were on a major, it was great. Independent labels were smaller labels and maybe you didn't get as much promotion and marketing. Well, that's changed now. Now the independent labels have all the acts. Our great label, Nuclear Blast, they have all the metal acts, and now because it's a new generation of younger and younger fans getting exposed to heavy metal and being at concerts. And there's still not the radio and the MTVs and all that, but there's the live concerts now that is the big thing, where you have to see your bands, or the internet that helped bands get exposure now.